gave the keys to the car to the 14-year-old.
Yeah. But oftentimes, and whether you guys realize this now, you may as you progress through your career, the relationship between producer and artist can make or break sometimes recording projects. So in the process of working with Al, he may occasionally, and you can comment on this, have to hold up a mirror and say, "You guys really want to do this?"
He does it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about Al,
how do you guys feel about that kind of feedback?
He's honest, and
Thank God he does it.
Yeah, he's honest, and we trust his opinion.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he has to reel us back in. Like, what if we had an explosion over here and then lightning strikes? And he's like, I don't know about that.
That must be the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. What if we had Orcai's chanting in the background?
Perfect.
As he lies is a great asset as a producer. He really allows us to create and write and be musicians and not tell us what to play, but translate what we're playing into something substantial.
Sure. And he's very innovative and super smart when it comes to wiring. And he wires all these, him and his partners, and they just build and build, and just sonically they just are way ahead of us.
Yeah. How involved do you guys get in the sonics, in the sound of things, or do you let him kind of drive that car?
We're involved as much as, we're kind of, when we're, for instance, mixing, I think is the point where you start becoming involved with a lot of the sonic qualities. And as much as we want to be, as we can be, we are involved. So it's kind of, because we're on the road touring and we can't be there to help them mix, so it's always good to say, do the best mix you can do and send it out, and we kind of make notes. And that's kind of going back and forth, and that's about the extent of our involvement.
Sure. You mentioned being on the road, and one of the things that I found interesting is you wrote, I believe, a lot of what will be the album here on the road. Am I right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time we would be at sound check, and it gets pretty boring playing the same songs every day. So if somebody would start doing something, we're like, that's cool. And that's just another example of how a song is written. It was either that, or we took an old song from when we had, like, it back in when the EP stuff was written, and then we revamped it and thought, oh, that's not good enough. So then we wrote songs in the studio, and there's just everybody's writing everywhere.
Right. Because I've heard from artists repeatedly over the years that writing on the road is very hard to do. It's you're away from your your gear and what you normally do.
I mean, in this case, all you really need is an acoustic guitar.
Yeah. So one of the other things, and the EPs, your choice of covers, because you do some cover songs, really interesting. So you cover Sam Cooke's "Change Is Gonna Come." Why that song? What inspired you to cover that song?
I think that was a song that had come on a few years ago, and then something that we grew up with. And I think I was walking through the house, and Josh and I had kind of met at the same point and kind of like been caught by whatever was playing on the radio, and it was "The Change Is Gonna Come," and we kind of said to each other, we have to at some point cover this song. And so I think it was time to do it. And we did our best.
Well, I mean, the arrangement is fantastic, and the approach is obviously utterly different than Sam Cooke went at it. And I understand there was the vocal background vocals. There was a gentleman who works with Kid Rock. Am I right about that?
Marshall Boone. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you meet him?
Through Al, actually. And we met a lot of people when we entered the studio life via Al.
Through Al,
The whole Detroit scene, he's the best guy. He's the best.
Yes.
The best of the best.
So people hang around the best, because they,
And it's
that's
like,
what you do.
I guess you get lucky if you get kind of into that camp. It's very it's very closed doors, and they were like, so we kind of somehow slipped in there, got lucky enough, and know a lot of these guys who've been doing this for decades.
Yeah. The other song I have to ask you about, because I'm a fan of this band and fairly stunned that you guys would find this, "Meet on the Ledge," which is a Fairport Convention song. So first of all, how did you guys come to even find that tune?
I think
Dad?
Yeah, I was probably through That, yeah.
the whole concept of what Fairport Convention is incredible.
Yeah.
Because it's like taking blues and making it into rock and roll. They took folk and made it into rock and roll.
Sure
Yes,
did.
they
And
did.
which we love both. And
Yeah.
it was just amazing to see what they
Yeah.
were doing. And I think that was one of the early inspirations of reinventing music as we go along.
I think that song in specific was, I think brought to us by Josh, who we were coming from New York to
On a train.
taking a train to from Boston,
From
to New York.
Boston to New York.
And he got off and he started playing that song. So you guys have to hear this. I just listened to it. It's Fairport Convention. I've never heard it. And from that point on, he was probably playing it 10 times a day or something. Like, if we cover it, he might stop playing it.
It's genius. Well, if you haven't, you guys need to meet Richard Thompson. So at some point, he's the dude. So fair warning, I'm going to ask for a couple questions here from the house in just a minute. Last topic in terms of cover songs. So you guys took on "Rolling in the Deep." Now, only a song, performed by maybe, the best vocalist, best known vocalist certainly in the world these days, Adele. What convinced you that you needed to cover that tune?
Well, for some reason, Josh, it goes back to Josh just singing things randomly. And he was singing it, and he would always do that to kind of warm up for any given show. And then we got to, the Spotify, we were doing a Spotify session where the template is usually you do a cover and you do one of your own songs, acoustic. And I thought, let's do Rolling in the Deep, because Josh does an amazing job singing that, which I think was kind of met with, tremendous confusion by everybody.
I thought it was fantastic. So.
But no, actually, I think it eventually turned into something that felt very right, very natural. And actually, I think we kind of wrote the arrangement for what that was that day. And Josh just did a few passes, and we're like,
I don't think it's on YouTube. Is it? It's only
I don't know,
through
who knows?
specifically Spotify.
I think it's Spotify. Yeah. So the last topic before we get to some of the questions from the house, the songs that you're writing, there's a thematic thread, to a greater or lesser degree, that runs through them, that is very positive, very much about unity, about harmony, about love among people. Why are those things important to you?
I think they're, as important to us as they were as important to anybody in any society in any time. I think those are just lessons of history that kind of lend themselves to treating each other better and being kind and loving one another. And I think we can all kind of get around that. So.
How have you seen audiences react to that? What have you seen in your audience?
Just that. I mean, people treating each other right, and there's the source of unity right there. And that everybody's brought together for that one thing, and that binds us all. That's music. It puts us all in the room, and we can all share an experience that will never be that exact experience ever again.
and that's what music is about. It's about seeing the older guys in the back of the room, and seeing the young kids in front, and it's all these people who are at a somewhat social event together that would regularly, in any scenario that I can really think of, never be seen together in the same room. Unless it's like a family reunion or something. But yeah,
You never met my family. So we got time for a couple of questions from the house. Yes, sir, right here.
Piggyback on something I touched on earlier, what's your opinion of artists that can't replicate what they have in the studios or live performances, that come out with multiple laptops,
Programming on stage. What's your feeling?
that's
about that?
really tough. Personally, I won't
Preferentially.
I won't be violent to anybody who does it, but I don't know. Personally, for us, I don't believe in it. I think that you should be able to produce the sound on stage that you have on the record.
I think that becomes like that becomes that line between truth that you feel in a performance when someone's really doing it, as opposed to now fabricating something or trying to manufacture the emotion that was once truly there.
Who else? Yes, sir, right here.
What albums have you guys been recently?
Albums you've been enjoying recently?
Paul Simon debut. Incredible album. Because we always listen to stuff like that, but and that was one of the records that was sitting around the house that we never quite got to.
I've gone back to Elton John debut. Or actually, not the debut. It was his like second album, but his self-titled. That's one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah. By the way, Paul Simon announced today he's done writing new songs.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
You can say whatever you
that's
want. You can't take someone like Paul Simon and just say, "Oh yeah, well I'm done.
I'm just the
done
messenger."
playing bass."
See, Paul.
Yes, sir, right there.
First of all, I want to say thanks for bringing us some really good, fresh music. Really appreciate it, guys. As you guys evolve, you've got your first full album coming out. Where do you guys see yourselves going? Where are you branching off to? Everybody changes as they evolve. You've got this great old school kind of a rock, blues, real cool groove to you. Where do you want to branch out to?
Where are you going?
See, I don't think it's really ever a conscious decision for us. I think I'm attracted to what's going on with what I hear, and when something changes, it changes as itself. And I think we change each other, and the sound grows. What do you think, Jake?
Spot on. No, that's pretty spot on.
That was pretty
That was a
good.
really good answer.
Yeah.
Okay, we got time for one or two more. Yes, sir, right there.
I understand you guys are into the cinema. Do you have any favorite films besides Apocalypse Now?
No.
The Godfather. The
Godfather.
is like-
Besides The Return of the
Wait,
King.
what about the Lord of the Rings? Didn't we talk about that?
Oh, yeah. See, we grew up. This is just one of those things. It's like,
I'm a big fan of directors and kind of that. So it's not necessarily if the films themselves, but sort of the mythology that surrounds one individual creator. So like the Coen brothers and
like Kubrick.
Tarantino was a big one. But what's the Coen brothers film Daniel Day-Lewis was in? There Will Be Blood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one. That
was
one
good.
changed
That was
my
good.
life. So
That was good. All right, last question. Yes, sir.
Do I know you, sir? This guy's like every single one of our shows. Mr.
Is he a
Rex.
shill? What's the deal?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So, talk about all your influences. Now you're the influence. So, what do you tell kids that are coming up or starting out playing? What advice do you have for them, and what would you suggest?
Great.
Okay.
Stay in school. Don't do drugs.
Don't join a rock and roll.
No, honestly.
Greta Van Fleet, wise ass.
No, it's do what you want and do what you believe in, and I think that if we were ever discouraged by our parents, we wouldn't have made it. And I think it's so important. I think for all the parents, encourage your children, because if we weren't encouraged, we would be. What would you be doing?
Probably the.
Jake would be a hobo, so he can't speak.
Yeah, no, but it is to do something truthful, and if you're truthful to yourself, then by that you will create something truthful. So
Don't wear
continue going.
earplugs.
And that's it.
Protect
So-
your hearing.
But
So
never stop.
last-
Never stop.
Last question. You know, a lot has been made about you guys being the future of rock and roll. Personally, I think it's incredibly unfair to kind of put that on you.
Yeah, what the hell?
That said, when you hear stuff like that, how do you react?
One person cannot wear that crown because that's a movement. That's always been a movement.
Yeah.
Rock and roll is in art, in any form of art, whether it's literature. All of those great authors, those were rock stars. All of the great filmmakers, they were rock stars. All the great journalists, they were rock stars. And it's the word itself, rock and roll, that has defined not only just a genre specifically in music, but has defined a lifestyle and a quality and a direction. So it's not one individual people who can do it. We grew up on listening to a lot of those people that we thought those were rock stars. And there's so many people doing it now, and you have contemporary artists doing it. It takes an army,
Yeah. Cool.
A lot of the time, people started off by saying, people say rock and roll is dead. How does it feel that you're bringing it back? And my answer is always, I didn't know what rock and roll was dead. But if you're giving us the responsibility to bring it back, we'll gladly take it.
Yeah. Good for you. So I know you're out here on a West Coast tour. I believe the record is even though I don't think there's a title, or you can't tell me the title. Maybe you can. Maybe you want to whisper it in my ear. I don't know.
We can't do that because well, we've announced technically the album, and it's called Anthem of the Peaceful Army.
There you go. Anthem of the Peaceful Army. Fantastic. And it's coming out, do we know when? Soon?
You're gonna have to look for context clues.
Okay.
They're out there.
Alright.
The date is out there. You just have to look.
Okay, the date is out there.
Mysterious.
Okay, these folks know anyway. Anthem of the Peaceful Army. More importantly, first of all, thank you guys for
Thank you so much.
We're gonna get drops down here. We're gonna hear some music. So give it up for Greta Van Fleet.